Hey there, welcome to Soul Deep with Sheila. I'm Sheila Cheptoyek and we are still with Linda Tusiime right here at Fairway Hotel, and she's still sharing with us her story or her battle with breast cancer and how she was able to come out victorious. So at this point, you're doing chemotherapy, and I can only imagine that it started to have some changes on you. What were some of those?
Even before I started the chemo, they required to do a checkup, a full checkup, because if your body isn't ready to take on the medicine, you don't start the chemo. And so that's what happened to me.
What does that mean if your body is not ready?
They did a few tests, and it was determined that my body was still weak.
Immunity-wise?
Yeah, immunity-wise. Okay. So they told me 2 weeks, find a way to increase your immunity. So my doctor was like, for the next 2 weeks, you're going to eat fruits, you're going to drink juice.
Recommendation.
You know, they just said, beef up your immunity.
Okay.
Yeah. So actually, initially hearing that, I'm like, okay, if my body is not even ready to take this medicine, what is it going to do to me?
Yeah. The fear started coming.
Yeah. So I started it 2 weeks later, and it was just basically a drip, and I would go home in the evening. The first few days would be hard because that's when the medicine is still in your body and you need to flush it out. So they tell you to drink a lot so that it can get out faster.
Okay. So wait, so this medicine is to boost the immunity?
No. The medicine is now the chemo.
Oh, now you've started the chemo.
Yes, I've now started the chemo.
You have worked on your immunity.
Yes. So after I worked on my immunity, I tried to be healthy for 2 weeks.
So what does that mean? What does that look like? The healthy?
I would eat katogo every day.
Okay, katogo. Okay.
Yes, every day in the morning. I would have juice.
Okay.
Constantly.
Okay.
I would make sure I do not skip my meals. So I would make sure I'm having lunch, I'm having dinner. Within the day, I would have fruits.
Yeah.
So I was just basically putting my body in the right physical place
I see.
to be ready for it.
Okay.
So which worked out, because when they tested me 2 weeks later, they're like, okay,
I think you're good to go.
You're good to go.
Oh, you worked it out.
I know.
Yeah.
You're good to go. So I went, I took the medicine, I started the chemo, and the first things obviously is the nausea. You can't keep anything down. Actually, the doctor told me in the beginning, because your appetite is so low, it's like, I'm going to allow you to eat whatever you feel like eating. If you wake up and you want to eat a burger,
go
if you
ahead
can
and
get it, go and get it. He's like, this is not the time, because it's okay to be healthy, but then it's also, you also need to eat.
Yeah.
And when you're in chemo, your appetite is really, really low. So I would try to eat, but occasionally the appetite wouldn't be so good. But there was that. Then because your immunity is low during the chemotherapy, you're advised to try to be as healthy as possible. So even if you get a flu, it hits you differently than it would normally. So you
become more like weaker.
You become much weaker. You become much sicker. There's a time when I got food poisoning. I ate something.
Oh dear.
And food poisoning on its own is already bad.
Yeah.
But it hit me so badly that I had to be admitted in the hospital.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, just for food poisoning.
Oh.
And that happened actually after my first chemotherapy. And that's when my doctor is like, Linda, you need to be careful, because if you get sick, it's you're not in a normal state right now. So that scared me more. So I was just really careful not to get sick. to avoid scenarios where I could get sick.
Yeah.
So that's why now with COVID, even my heart goes out to people who are going through treatment during COVID, because it could be very devastating for them.
True.
One of the things I noticed, it was around the second chemotherapy. That's when I started getting the scars are now they're now faded, but okay, now they're faded. So here, wherever the medicine would pass, it would form a duck, just which really shows that it's burning you, but anyway, it's poison, but its purpose is to kill the cancer. There was this, then my hair started falling out in the second month.
Oh dear.
Second
month of chemo.
Yeah, the second month of chemo.
Were you prepared for this? Did they tell you
No,
that this is what's going to happen?
the doctor is like, Linda, there's some people whose hair doesn't fall out during chemo.
So
maybe you'll be lucky.
Oh. Yeah.
I don't know why he kept doing that to me, because
yeah.
I'll be like, Linda, you're going to be lucky, and you like, if you keep telling yourself you're going to be lucky, you will be lucky.
Yeah, true.
So,
I mean, you had already kept your hope
up
prior.
I was trying to be positive, and exactly, I'm like, if you survive the mastectomy, your hair is fine, and I really loved my hair so much.
And it looks beautiful.
Thank you.
Now
it's back.
Back.
So it started falling out, and I'd notice when I'm combing the hair. So what I did is I stopped combing it because I was so afraid of losing the hair.
Yeah.
So I'll just hold it in a bun and just pat it together until one day my sister, I met my sister in town, and she was like, you're looking fine, you still look nice, and your hair is still there, because we're all praying for the hair to stay. And she's like, your hair is still there, and I'm like, I just did this, and like a full chunk of hair came out. And I'm like, this is what I'm dealing with. And she's like, no, let's go and cut it off. So we went to a barber and
cut it off.
All off.
Oh my goodness.
I know. I was really scared.
Yeah.
But I went with both my sisters, and they were like cheerleaders.
Yeah, they were giving you strength.
Yeah. And they were like, you look nice, it looks good. Oh, it's good. So I'm like, okay, I think I can do this.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the pictures. You look pretty good. You look like those African models, and you look really good.
Like a model from up north.
Yes.
It worked out.
Yeah.
For work, I would wear scarves. I started learning how to tie scarves in different designs.
Yeah. And did your workmates know that your hair was
Many of my workmates did not know.
Did not know.
Yeah. Oh. It's only a few who I'm really close with who knew. But many of them just said, Linda, you're into scarves these days. And I'm like, yeah.
Oh. They just noticed
it's not my
you
thing.
were wearing, scarves quite a lot, and they thought it's your thing.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
It's my new thing.
Yeah. That actually gets me thinking. So many things people do, and we do not know what is happening.
Don't know. Exactly.
Beneath. And sometimes we even end up criticizing or judging, and we just have no idea.
And I actually wrote about that in my blog, because people like to critique others based on their physical appearance and the way they look. And they don't really know what they're dealing with.
Exactly.
Because the day before I started the chemo, I had just come from the hospital. I'd been doing tests the whole day, and the doctor had called me to say, Linda, your results are good. You're starting chemo tomorrow. So I was in the office trying to, try to clear up what I could before I go. And this person that we'd worked together in the past, so she had passed by the office to see somebody else. And she sees me, and she's like, Linda, have you been eating?
Oh my.
So I looked at her, and she's like, someone needs to get you a burger. And, at that point, I was just drained completely.
You're probably tired of the comments.
That's the last thing you want to hear.
Yeah, true.
Because I know I didn't look my best self, because I was just going through so much stress. And I got a panic attack immediately. I just broke down. And she said it so innocently, and it's
Yeah.
something Ugandans like doing.
Yeah.
It's, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
You know?
You need to eat some food.
You need
Yeah. They recommend
And-
so quickly.
And you don't know what someone is going through.
true.
And
That's true.
I broke down because I'm like, okay, I haven't started the chemo, and she's saying this. What
what
will
will happen
when I'm
true.
going through chemotherapy? So yeah, it's important that people notice the things that are happening with others. But if you don't know somebody, just
Go
keep your
slow.
opinion to yourself.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think that what Linda has said is really important. Sometimes we rush to judge. I think sometimes we're saying it innocently, but I think we need to really be slow to speak and get to understand first. If you notice changes happening to somebody's physical appearance, I think you might want to understand first what's going on before you can rush to say something.
Yeah.
Thank
True.
you for that, Linda. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the other things is my period stopped coming, but that one was expected when
So
you're in
they-
chemo.
They had prepared you for that.
Yeah, that one I was prepared for. But they just it's known that during the treatment different things will happen to you. So my skin started darkening, my fingers were really dark, my nails darkened. So a lot of things happen to you on the outside, and it makes you wonder what's happening, on the inside.
And I guess it does something to your esteem.
It does.
Because
It
now you're
does.
starting to look different from
Exactly.
how you looked.
True.
And of course, for us as ladies, appearance.
It's very important.
Yeah, we're always looking in the mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
But I had a good support, even if I know they were lying to me.
yeah,
They were always,
they tried to keep you.
They were like, "Oh, Linda, you look so nice today.
Oh, wow.
Linda, have you done something different?
Oh, wow.
Oh, today wearing a nice wig." Occasionally, I'd wear wigs
Oh,
because
to spice up.
to spice up the look, you
Yeah.
know. And they're like, "Oh, your wig looks so nice," and I know they were lying. I know I looked horrible, but
Maybe you didn't.
I don't know.
Maybe you didn't.
I know I look bad, but I think it's also helped just to have positive people around me.
Yes,
yeah,
true,
So
true.
that also helped
That
me.
see the best and want you to see the best
Exactly.
in yourself. That's nice. Bless their hearts.
I know.
Yeah. I think it's really good. I
Yeah.
mean, how many people have such a support system around them? And I
very-
think that really,
it's very
really
important.
brings us also
Yeah.
into the aspect of support system.
Yes.
Who is your support system? Yeah.
Yeah. So after I finished the chemo, I started radio,
Yeah.
and this was the time when the machine in Mulago was not working.
Oh, that's around the time.
Yeah, it was end of 2017.
Yeah.
So everyone was being referred to Nairobi.
So here we go again with Nairobi.
Here we go back.
Oh my.
And I opted to, because at first when I did the surgery in Nairobi, they're like, you should also do the chemotherapy here because it's better and, you could get better. But for me, it was important to keep as normal a semblance of my life as possible. So that's why I'm like, no, I'm doing chemo at home. I want to be around people I know.
Oh, you didn't stay in the hospital?
No.
You did it at home?
No, I would go to the hospital. It's just a day
Yeah.
thing. So you're in the hospital for like maybe 6-7 hours.
Yeah.
And then you go home. But what I didn't want was to be in Nairobi
Yeah.
and you are with maybe one person and you don't get to have a normal life. And
Yes.
so I was like,
I'll do it home.
yeah, I'll do chemotherapy in Uganda.
Oh.
So when they told me that the radio I couldn't do it here, I was
Yeah,
disappointed
yeah.
because I'm like, okay, that means going to Nairobi for like a month and a half because I needed to do 25 rounds of radio and you go to the hospital every day
Oh my goodness.
and you only get weekends
Yeah.
as a break. So I was sitting in Nairobi for that long just for radio. The advantage with radio, though, is there are no effects.
Oh.
Well, painful effects, that is. The only effect is it darkens the area where the machine is
It's being passed.
yeah.
Okay.
So the whole breast area darkened, and somebody gave me a sort of gel, which helped to restore it back. It's also said aloe vera also works.
Okay.
Yeah. So The radio wasn't really tough. It was maybe just the fact that I was not at home.
Yeah, you had to now go to Nairobi.
I was sitting in Nairobi, yeah. But it went well as well. I would go to the hospital every day.
So you had family there with you?
No. Initially, I went with my mother and my sister. But I was like, okay, this is not so bad. You know, it's just going to the hospital, coming back, going to the hospital, coming back. Yeah. So my mother is like, okay, then let me come back home. So my mother came back to Uganda. My sister stayed for a couple of days and also came back.
So you'd stay in a hotel?
No, I got an apartment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that I could cook for myself. And so a friend of mine came and joined me because she was available that time.
Wow.
So
you really had support.
I know.
That was good.
So she came and joined me for the duration. And we spent the month in Nairobi. Wow. So she would go with me to the hospital, then we come back, and you know.
Yeah. Wow. Quite a journey.
It was.
Now, at this point, how long has this been since we started? The entire treatment. How long has this been now?
I was diagnosed in May of 2017. I finished my radio in December 2017.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's about like six months.
Yeah. And after you finish radio, they do a test. They call it a fish test, just to determine if you need to do another type of treatment to follow through. And my results came negative.
That means?
That means that the treatment that you've done thus far should be enough.
Oh, it has worked.
It has worked.
Okay.
So after I finished the radio, the next step, because I was still already taking the hormonal therapy, so it was also seen as an extra boost to help to make sure that it doesn't come back. Because what the pill is for, it's just to prevent reoccurrence. So even now, while I'm on remission, at least if I take it every day, at least taking the pill every day, it just reduces the chance of recurrence. Then I had to do, some people, it depends on if you choose to do it. They call it a PET scan. It's a scan where you're in a machine and it scans your whole body and it looks for any cancer cells. So I did that PET scan last year.
You are home now?
Yeah, I was home. This is a year after I'd finished my treatment.
Okay. So a year after the treatment, you're now just on the pill.
I'm on the pill.
That normalizes your
and
hormones.
I'm seeing my doctor every 3 months.
Okay.
Just for a check.
Okay.
And
you're back to work
I'm back to work. Everything is back to normal.
And
yes.
your hair has
actually, it was after I finished the radio, I came back, and at that point my hair hadn't started growing, and I came back, and I think because I was done with everything, I was like, why am I stressing myself with these cuffs? So I woke up one day, and I remember there was I had a wedding for a workmate, and I was trying on wigs, and and I said, no, why don't I just
let it go,
let it out.
You had now gotten the confidence and
so I went for his wedding, and there was a number of my workmates there, and that's when most of them were like, oh. So even those who didn't know I was sick thought that I had just chosen to cut my hair off. So someone actually once asked me, she's like, Linda, I've always thought of cutting my hair, but I wouldn't do what you've done. This is very brave of you. And you've actually pulled it off. I'm like,
wow. Yeah, you looked really good. You looked really good. Yeah.
So it was after I finished that I'm like, no,
enough.
Let the hair breathe.
You've already had enough. Yeah, true.
So it was after I came back that I stopped wearing scarves, I stopped wearing wigs. I just, and it started growing slowly.
Wow.
Started as baby hair, so.
And here we are.
Nice. Afro mama.
This is good. This is really good. So you started to heal then at that point.
They say you're in remission, but they just tell you to be careful with your health, to try to eat better.
Okay.
Because I consider that I'm a healthy person. That's why for me my diagnosis was really shocking.
Okay.
So they just tell you to just try to be healthy, eat well,
Exercise.
Exercise, which I don't do,
Okay.
but
You walk, don't you?
I walk to the kitchen.
Around the house.
I walk around the house.
Yeah. So you really needed to, you had to make some changes.
I had
also.
to make changes.
Okay,
yes.
intentional ones.
Intentional changes, yeah. Which I used to exercise initially, but now not so much. But I try
You try.
to walk sometimes.
And then the eating?
The eating, I would say that my eating has fairly improved.
Okay.
I eat less meat
Okay.
than I used to in the past. I have cheat days, I will admit.
When you really can't resist.
When I can't resist, I will go and eat junk food.
then
And my
go
mother does not like it at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have cheat days occasionally, but I try to when I'm at a buffet, for example, I won't pick as much meat as I would have. I'll opt for like the vegetables and, you know, something different. So I try to eat better.
Okay. What are some of the things that they asked you to stay away from? The food. The food.
Sugar is one.
Sugar.
Yeah, sugar is one. So I try not to eat sugar. Well, I only take when I'm drinking tea, or I don't take sugar, as it's completely off. So maybe if I'm taking sugar, it's in a cake or whatever. Another thing is soy sauce.
Okay.
I was told it could affect the hormonal therapy treatment.
Okay.
I don't know how. Yeah, but otherwise red meats.
To stay away from that as
Yeah,
well.
take more veggies.
Okay.
But don't stay away, just occasionally.
A bit.
Yes.
Just a bit. Once in a while. Okay.
Yeah.
So at what point did you get the news that you are fine now?
When I came back from Nairobi, like a few months
For
after
the
I came
radio.
back from Nairobi for the radio,
Yeah.
I went to my doctor and he did some tests, and he's like, you know what, Linda, you're fine.
Wow.
Yeah.
My
And
goodness.
that was when we were also waiting for what we call the fish tests.
Yeah.
So he's like, this is negative, you've done these treatments, you've done everything you should have done, you're on hormonal therapy, you are good.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did you feel? How
felt
did you?
so-
I mean,
I felt so
hearing that
excited.
news, you're like a conqueror. Like,
I was so excited.
Yeah.
I think I might have even had like a get together with my family and friends. I don't remember.
Yeah, to
I just
celebrate the news.
I just remember we celebrated the
Yeah.
news as a family,
Yeah.
because we were really waiting to find out if it was really over.
Yeah.
And it was just good news.
Yeah.
And then that's when he told me, he's like, you know, afterwards, if you want to, you can do the PET scan. But if you can't afford it, just try to be healthy.
Okay.
So it was like a few months after I came back from Nairobi when
Wow.
it's like,
I'm sure
you're
even
fine.
your colleagues and workplace,
Oh, they was also
everybody
excited.
was jubilating. That must have been, I mean, that was really amazing.
It was.
To come out victorious on the other
Yeah,
end. that
it was.
really great. I'm sure also that I think your mindset, or at least your view towards life, must have changed a bit. Were you still looking at life the same way?
no.
Well, how did your mindset change?
I stopped worrying about things that are not important,
Okay.
which I think I still do that today.
Yeah.
Like, people will be stressing about something,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
If I could beat cancer.
this is not important.
Yeah. In the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. Yes, also, I'm less critical
Okay.
of things that other people are doing with their lives.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's viewed as being what is the word, uncaring, but I think going through what I went through,
Yeah.
I've learned to accept the decisions that people take, with the choices that they make, because it's their life.
Yeah.
It's they get to live with the consequences of their actions, and I'm not quick to try to encourage them to do something else.
Yeah.
So I'm more accepting when someone decides, they tell me they're going to do this, and I'm like, okay, you know, I'm sure you've thought through it.
Yeah.
Because even when I was deciding not to do a mastectomy, people thought I was crazy.
Yeah.
So, and it helped that there were a few people who were saying, whatever you want to do, Linda, because it's you. So it's something that I've also learned to do.
So you have been able to take charge of your you were able to take charge of your decisions in that time, and you allow others to
I allow
do the
others to
same.
do the same. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, are there any good things that came out of this experience? You know, out of all of it, is there something that came out of it?
There was. I've always liked music.
Okay.
I like to sing.
Yeah.
So during chemo, I wrote a song, and I started recording it during the treatment. So I finally released it a few months after I finished my treatment.
Wow.
So I'm an artist.
I see. We are with an artist here.
One hit
people.
wonder.
Well, you are about to make more, I'm sure. I'm sure of it. But that was nice. You came up with a song after that. So the inspiration was from the story that
you know, the song, when you hear the song, it sounds morbid and it sounds depressing, but it was about how I was feeling
in that time.
At that moment, yes. And I needed to express how I was feeling.
Yeah.
So I wrote the song, and it's my baby that I'm now proud of.
That's nice.
It happened because I was going through that, and I'm like, Linda, you've always wanted to record a song. If you know, this is the time to do it, because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's nice.
Then after I finished, a few months later, it was actually my friends who came up with the idea. I'd been talking to somebody, and I was talking about how my main concern was how it would affect me physically before I did the surgery and whatnot. So they actually encouraged me to go to the Cancer Institute and find out if they were doing anything for people who would have been in my similar situation. Okay. And we spoke to somebody there, and she actually told us that there is nowhere in Uganda for a woman to procure a prosthetic breast when they have a mastectomy. So most village women have to use the fold-up clothes, sponge, you know. It's
after their breast has been cut off.
Yes. And I think as women, we want to look nice, we want to look presentable.
That's true.
And it does something for you psychologically if you can get something that can help. So there are few organizations that occasionally supply the silicone prosthetics, but these don't last long, and they require a certain way to be kept, which is not something that a lot of women, especially in villages, can maintain.
Yeah.
So they were thinking of doing something like that, and they had already started. It's just that they didn't have the funds to do it. Yeah. So I started the Lamps Away Foundation.
Okay.
It's the same name as the blog. During my treatment, I was blogging about my experience. I was writing about what I was going through.
So that was like your getaway, your therapy-ish?
I was already writing like privately.
Okay.
But I was like, when I was looking for solace, the first place I went to was the internet.
Okay.
And I didn't find any Ugandan voices of people who had gone through this.
Yeah.
Most of the communities that I was looking at were women in America and England, and you can't really connect. You can't relate with them because their treatments are different. The things they have access to is very different. Yeah. So I'd been writing on my own during my experience, but then I said, Linda, start a blog. Just share your experience.
Sure.
So I launched the blog actually on Breast Cancer Awareness Month, the month I was going, the year I was going through the treatment.
Wow.
So I'd been blogging, and then when we decided to do this project, I started a foundation. So I called it Lamps Away. Yeah. And I think that would be a positive thing that came out of it.
So lovely. So some good things actually did come out of this experience. And of course, we know that it does take somebody being intentional with their journey for something good to come out of it. So thank you for being so strong and for not letting the situation overtake you. And Lamps Away Foundation, what what do you offer? Just tell us a bit about it so that people can actually get to know this service that you
Yeah.
do offer out there. Yeah.
Well, right now I'm focusing on this project to
Yeah.
raise money to make prosthetic breasts.
Okay.
But long term, I'd like to just be available because we already have these organizations here that help people. One of them is the Uganda Cancer Women's Organization. So it's one of the places I actually also went to when I was trying to figure out if I was going to live or not.
So more like a support
So
system.
yeah, so I just want to be like a support
Yeah,
to,
wow.
to talk to people or to talk to people's families because it's really important to hear voices from people who have been through what you're going through and are surviving, because we really need to get those stories out there. And if I could get as many stories as possible out there, then I will have achieved my goal.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
Lamps Away has a Facebook account, Instagram, Twitter, and they also do have a website. So you can reach out and support. Let's support each other. Let our stories be heard. So as we've heard, Linda has come out with something good out of this, and she has started a foundation, Lamps Away, as she has mentioned. And really her intention is to make, you know, like an extra breast for the ladies that have had mastectomy and their breast has been cut off. So she's hoping to make, you know, an extra breast for them so that they can be comfortable and feel good. So thank you so much, Linda. It's been a pleasure. And you're so full of joy
Thank you.
and so strong, so strong.
I don't look it, but yeah.
You do. You do. Thank you so much for sharing your story, for being vulnerable. I'm sure that somebody out there can relate, or at least feels encouraged by listening to you.
Yeah.
And we do appreciate you. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you.